the formula that broke common sense. At first, it sounded reasonable, elegant, even comforting, a mathematical relationship that promised to explain uncertainty with clarity, until its consequences began quietly contradicting everything human intuition trusted about cause, effect, and certainty. What felt like common sense started failing not at the edges, but at the center, forcing a realization that intuition had never been designed to handle probability honestly. For centuries, people believed outcomes should reflect effort, intention, and fairness. If something happened often, it felt meaningful. If it happened rarely, it felt negligible. Human reasoning relied on stories, patterns, and expectations shaped by experience, not statistics. Common sense ruled because it felt practical. Then this formula arrived and disagreed. It showed that unlikely events could dominate outcomes. That repetition did not guarantee balance. That expectation could be mathematically wrong, even when emotionally convincing. What felt obvious was often false. The formula did not remove uncertainty. It quantified it, and in doing so, it exposed how poorly humans reason about chance. Risk no longer depended on feeling. It depended on structure. Likelihood became numerical, not emotional. This mattered far beyond mathematics. Medicine began weighing treatments by probability rather than hope. Finance measured risk instead of trusting intuition. Science learned to doubt results that felt too clean. Everywhere the formula spread, certainty weakened. What made this unsettling was not complexity, but clarity. The math was simple. The implications were not. It showed that rare events mattered more than expected, that averages lied, that intuition systematically misjudged reality. Common sense resisted fiercely. People clung to stories. They trusted streaks. They believed balance would arrive eventually. The formula showed otherwise. Chance had no memory. Outcomes did not owe fairness. This was the beginning of a quiet fracture between what felt right and what the numbers insisted was true. And once that fracture appeared, the way humans understood reality could never return innocence. As this formula spread, it began quietly dismantling assumptions people did not even realize they were carrying, assumptions about fairness, balance, and the idea that the world somehow keeps score and eventually evens things out if you just wait long enough. The mathematics showed something colder and far less comforting, that chance does not remember the past, does not care about effort, and does not reward patience in the way human stories insist it should. One of the most disturbing realizations was how easily intuition failed in repeated situations. After many losses, a win felt deserved. After a long calm period, disaster felt unlikely. The formula demonstrated that both feelings were illusions, emotional shortcuts built for survival, not for accuracy. Probability reset every time, indifferent to what came before. This created tension everywhere it was applied. In medicine, a low probability did not mean impossible, yet patients heard reassurance. In finance, rare risks were ignored because they felt negligible until they erased years of gains overnight. In safety planning, unlikely failures were postponed, not prevented, because intuition undervalued them. The formula exposed a systematic bias. Humans overweight recent events and underweight distant ones. They trust narratives more than distributions. They expect balance where none exists. The math was not complicated, but it was unforgiving. Even more unsettling was how calm the numbers were. They did not argue. They did not persuade. They simply described reality in a way that refused emotional negotiation. Discomfort did not change results. Disbelief did not soften outcomes. As people tried to resist, they misused a formula. Probabilities were treated as promises. Low risk was mistaken for safety. Uncertainty was rounded away. The math was blamed for failures it had predicted clearly. This deepened the conflict. Was the problem the formula or the way humans wanted the world to behave? Common sense felt violated, but it was common sense that had been wrong. Slowly, reluctantly, a pattern emerged. The formula did not break reality. It broke intuition. And that realization forced a question nobody wanted to ask. If common sense fails so reliably under uncertainty, what else do we trust that has never truly earned it? This is where the conflict sharpened into something deeply uncomfortable, because the formula did not merely expose occasional mistakes. It revealed a consistent pattern of human error that repeated itself across situations, cultures, and centuries. No matter how intelligent or experienced people were, intuition kept failing in the same predictable ways whenever uncertainty was involved. The formula showed that humans are not just bad at probability. They are systematically wrong. They misjudge rare events. They misread streaks. They confuse possibility with likelihood. They treat anecdotes as evidence and dismiss statistics as abstraction. These are not random flaws. They are built into how the mind evolved to survive. This realization carried serious consequences. If intuition cannot be trusted under uncertainty, then many decisions are quietly misguided. Policies underestimate catastrophic risks. Individuals misjudge personal danger. Institutions overconfidence their safeguards. Failure becomes inevitable, not because of ignorance, but because of misplaced trust. Attempts to correct this often made things worse. Graphs were simplified. Warnings were softened. Probabilities were rounded to feel reassuring. The formula was translated into language people wanted to hear, not what it actually said. Accuracy was sacrificed for comfort. This distortion created a dangerous illusion. Risk appeared controlled when it was merely ignored. Confidence increased while resilience declined. Systems looked stable right up until they weren't. When collapse arrived, it felt shocking, even though it had been mathematically visible all along. The formula also exposed a moral tension. If people cannot intuitively grasp risk, who is responsible for protecting them? Should systems be designed to override intuition? Should decisions be restricted? Or should failure be accepted as the cost of freedom? There was no clean answer. The formula described reality, but it did not offer comfort. It forced societies to choose between honesty and reassurance, between preparedness and denial. This is where common sense truly be. The climax of this story was not the acceptance of the formula, but the recognition of what it demanded from us in return, because understanding probability required surrendering one of the most comforting illusions humans have ever held. The illusion that the world is fair in the short term, that effort guarantees reward, and that bad outcomes somehow warn us before they arrive. Once this illusion collapsed, decision-making changed forever. Risk was no longer something you felt. It was something you calculated, prepared for, and respected even when it felt unnecessary. The absence of disaster stopped meaning safety. Calm stopped meaning control. The formula taught a brutal lesson. Most failures happen not because danger is invisible, but because it feels unlikely. By the time fear arrives, options are already gone. Preparation always feels premature. Regret always feels justified. This reframed responsibility. Good decisions stopped being those that worked out. They became those that were reasonable given the odds. Failure no longer proved stupidity. It proved exposure. This shift reshaped science, engineering, and policy. Systems began planning for rare events. Margins replaced optimism. Redundancy replaced confidence. Resilience replaced prediction. But emotionally, the cost was high. Living with probability means living without guarantees. It means acting without certainty. It means accepting that good choices can still lead to bad outcomes. And that reality does not apologize. The formula did not remove meaning. It replaced false reassurance with preparedness. It traded comfort for clarity. And clarity, though uncomfortable, proved survivable. Once common sense was recalibrated, the world became less surprising. Not safer, but more honest. And that honesty changed everything. Because in a world ruled by uncertainty, wisdom is not avoiding risk. It is recognizing it early. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future. The